All right. All right. How y'all doing? Um, I know I said that I would like not be on, but I got some new lighting in and I wanted to try it out. And I have some stuff that I've been holding on to that I wanted to present. For those that don't know me, my name is 12 Gauge. This is my channel and welcome to it. Everything that is said here is done in an analytical fashion. Some of it is speculatory, some of it is opinion. Um, so try to be respectful. Those of you in the chat, um, your opinion is valid. Please understand that if you get out of hand or get too vulgar or too argumentative, that the mods will will ask you to tone it down and stuff. So, anyways, like I said, I was at the pool earlier, got some sun, got some fun, and got this new light in, so I thought I'd try it out. And I also have some stuff that I've been hanging on to that I thought I'd present because I wanted to present this. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Give me a number one if you can hear me. If it's too loud, let me know. If it's not, I'm glad to get the show started. Those of you that are new, welcome to the show. Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative. Um, so, as you all know, I have a deep passion for this IDAHO4 case, as a lot of other people do. And I also look into the photos and the videos, and I try to take screenshots of things that I think are very relevant to the case. Um, I try not to impose my theory too much, but I try to focus on the evidence, the things that could that could show a little bit of the crime or some of the areas where it could have it could have happened. So y'all hang with me. I'm gonna mess with this light a little bit, see what it does. I'm kinda like a kid in a candy store. I like to mess with. Okay, that kind of tones it down a little bit. Kind of brings it up. Well, the lighting that I had earlier was just hurting my eyes. I don't know if y'all were on the Swamp Rose channel this morning, but I was a special guest on there, and I noticed that my eyes were hurting. I was like, man, this lighting is bad. I got to do something about it. So I ordered one the other day, and it finally came in. So here we go. Are y'all ready for the IDAHO4 stuff? I can't hear you. Are y'all ready for it? Are you ready for it? Let me hear it. Are you ready? Are y'all going to be loud? I really wish that we could do an interactive like that. That would be so awesome if somehow StreamYard makes it where you guys can be interactive with the presenter. So here we go. Let's start off with this. I remember Rondi asked me a while back. She said, um, "Do you have the room, Dylan's room, with the windows out the back, or to the out the back? Because this would be out the back." And I do. I found a photo, and I'm going to show it. Let me make sure I find the right one because you know how people crucify you if you accidentally show something wrong by accident. They would just be all over your stuff. Okay. So hang in there while I'm finding this photo. Okay, found it. Yeah, I know you guys are nice, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the gestures and everything that you guys give to this whole channel, and that's why I chose a lot of you as moderators because you're great at what you do. Okay, right here, Rondi. This is the windows to Dylan's room. Um, as you can see out the back there. You can see the tree, the brick line wall. Let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit. There we go. See, you can see out that back window. Of course, it would have had blinds in it, so you would have been able to see out that window. And like we were talking about the other day in the live, this is where the cinder block was located along this side of the wall or of the house. Because as you can tell, this long area right here, this is the road. This is where the road is, and this is that side of the house. So this is the area right here that can look out the back. So she has an awesome see if you go up this little trail right here, these trails, these lead up to the back of the house back there where I was showing you in those other pictures, um, that lead up toward the back of the house. So I always wondered how come and I'm not sure that she didn't, but how come she didn't get pictures or videos or anything like that that would have put that individual, whomever it was, in that area. But just think about it. If she did, man, that's a slam dunk right there. That's a slam dunk because yes, it is. It's right below Maddie's room. So it's a slam dunk. You can see that would have got a clear view right to the back of the house. Of course, there's going to be blinds here and everything. So that would have been able to get a perfect view to the back of the house. And let me see the next picture here. Okay, and this is Maddie's room. As we all know, we've all been able to see, here's the staircase on landing stuff, and here's the window, the front window. Excuse me. And if you can remember, they were dusting for print, they were looking, and they probably swabbed this window based on a lot of things that they may or may not have seen, you know? Um, so this window might be important when it comes to the case because she doesn't have. What did I say? Did I say Bethany? This is Bethany's room. I don't know if I said Maddie, but this is Bethany's room. As you look on her wall, you see nothing on this side either. So she's unable to see to the right of her because that is a wall and there's not a window there. The only way she would be able to see anything is if she looked out this window or went out the front and opened the door and took a video or photos of the car leaving at 4:20. And like I said, that's speculatory, but we've always wondered about that. Thank you, Christy. I thought I messed that up. I thought I did say Maddie. Thank you. um, so Bethany's room, it's right under the staircase. And if you look at one of my videos in the library, you can see I'll walk you through the house. I might show that here in a minute because it gives a little more insight than the pictures do. So that's Bethany's room. This is the first empty room because as you can see, here's the power breaker right here, the breaker box. And this is facing the west side of the house. So the window is in the front, as you can see the light coming in. And many times it's been speculated that there was a trap door here, that you just pushed a button or something and led to tunnels and this, that, and the other. But I don't really go with that theory. So yeah, I mean, why didn't she hear more than she heard? I don't understand that. And maybe she did. Maybe she did. And this is that same room, but at a different angle. Here's the window that you can see the front of the house. So this is the window that the body cam you could that the police came in, and they were able to look in and see. They saw the mattress against the wall back here, and they saw golf clubs, and this was the empty room. And for a lot of time, a lot of the investigation, I don't know about you guys, but when it first started, I honestly thought they said this is where Dylan was staying, in this room right here. I could have swore they said the two roommates were living downstairs. And I thought this was Dylan's room and the other one was Bethany's room. How many of y'all thought that as well? Did any of y'all think that as well? Hit a number one if you thought so. Number two if you didn't. Um, awesome, John. Thank you for coming. I saw you in Swamp Bros as live today. Welcome. You're amongst some very, very understanding people in the chat. So feel free to chat. Feel free to give your questions, your opinions, whatever, because everything's valid and we're not going to attack you. You're more than welcome to believe what you believe. So welcome. We're glad you're here. So like I said, this is the vacant room. Here's the wall with no window on it. I don't know about you guys, but I thought this room was a lot bigger width wise than it is. I mean, somebody had told me, I think it was I don't remember who it was, but they said that this house was really small. That it looks a lot bigger in pictures than it does when you look at it in person. So here we go. Um let's go to the next one. And those of you that know the outline of the house, you understand that this is the living room right here. This is the staircase that leads down to the front of the house. And this is the window that overlooks the front of the house, where you can see Sigma Chi across the field there. You can see the 710 apartment over here. You can see a little bit of probably the Queen Road apartments over here. And that's the hallway that leads to Xana's room, and it leads to the bathroom right there. And this would have had the good vibes sign on there. There would have been a pink and white photo right here and a little table. One thing when I look at these photos, and this is one of the things that I really think about when I'm looking at photos and videos. I'm very analytical, because I'm looking around. I'm thinking, okay, what kind of material is this? Is it sound? Is it sound absorbing? It looks really thin, things of that nature. But I really can't tell in this room because it's all brightly colored. But one thing I do know, and I have a picture of this, and this is something that I also had questioned with myself, is there's a bathroom here. There's one bathroom here, and there's a bathroom downstairs right underneath it. So Bethany uses the one underneath. I guess Xana, Ethan, and Dylan use this one. And then there's one upstairs. But what I had questioned with is this flooring. If we have any floor installers in the chat, maybe y'all can answer me this, okay? Anybody in the chat install flooring or anything like that? Here's a question for you guys. If you install flooring or any kind of tile or laminate or anything like that, this flooring looks like it doesn't have a lot of room to absorb anything through. Like, let's say you spilled some water on this flooring, okay? It doesn't look like it has the cracks to be able to absorb that. But once we saw the outside of the house in Xana's room, it all ran to the corner, it looked like, and seeped out the back, so it found a way out. But in the whole house, it looks like it has the same kind of flooring. Any floor guys or construction guys in here? I'm asking I'm asking a question whether this type of flooring has the capability to absorb water, um, any kind of material, dirt, because whenever you go in people's houses, they either have tile, they have carpet, or they have, this type of flooring. And you always wonder, if I spill something, is it going to be able to absorb through this wood fairly quickly, or is it going to take a while? Okay. Aquarius says it's probably the pieces that snap together. It looks like that cheap stick down flooring that's supposed to look like hardwood floor, but I'm not an expert. Okay. Yeah, me either. I'm not an expert. So I'm just asking you guys if you know anything about that, because that's kind of that's the evidence thing that I'm pointing out here is what happened in that room. So if there was any kind of tracking out of here, would it have absorbed through the floor, or would it have kind of puddled up? You get what I'm saying? Because I don't see that there would have been a lot on these walls unless it happened out here, unless it started out here in this area. Because there was, like the coroner said, it was a very bloody crime scene. So, um, I don't know what y'all think. What do y'all think? Christy says, I agree with you. Rondi says, wouldn't there be something like a liner under the wood? I would think so, but what I'm asking is if how quickly it would absorb into this flooring. Like, I'm wondering if the flooring is like susceptible to not bleed into very quickly, so that you can sweep or mop something up fairly quickly, or sweep something up so it doesn't get caught in the crevices. And that's my question. I mean, because I thought about that when I looked at this picture. I thought, man, I wonder if there's something there that would hold that water or some kind of liquid, or would it seep right through? Depends if they went cheap or not, and how the house falls like a book of matches. I think they went cheap. Yeah, I think they went cheap to college rental. Yeah. Well, I agree, but I don't know how um, about the flooring. That's all I'm wondering there. Wonder if the bedroom, the floors are the same. Well, the bedrooms, it looks like they have a shinier, and the kitchen. I don't know how, um, if these photos were taken the same day or if they were taken. Let me go backwards because that's another place that I want to show you. See, these floors are in the bedrooms. These these look a lot more realistic than that flooring did. See what I mean? Than that flooring did in the living room. See, and this is in Dylan's room. So that in Dylan's room, it looks like on the second floor they just kept going with this gray and white flooring. So I'm wondering how absorbent is the word is that flooring. And here's the bathroom on the second floor. She says, wonder if bedroom floors are the same. The next one says, yeah, them ones I bet would leak down through. The living room, I think, would puddle. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, because see, these are the same, and this is the second floor. So I don't know if it's the same time frame or if they changed the flooring out or whatever. But this is the bathroom on the second floor. I always thought that this bathroom was tiny. Okay, I always thought in my head, this bathroom is tiny. You know, they're just a urinal, or not a urinal, but a toilet and a sink area like this. There's nothing else. But as you can tell, there's a stand up shower, there's a washer and dryer, and it looks fairly good size. So tell me, because I don't know if y'all have heard, because there's been so many rumors and so much speculation in the past, would somebody have hid in this bathroom to escape something? Would they have ran in here and kind of hid? I wonder if there was any kind of activity in this area, if there was any blood in this area, anything like that. I'm just wondering, so just something to think about. Because that bathroom's kind of big. Yeah, the pictures can be deceiving as well. You're right. But I'm going to show you also some of these other pictures that I took. There's another angle of the living room. And as you can see, it looks dusty, right? It looks like there's footprints. Not from the crime, so don't get all excited. But it looks like there's footprints, or that just the floor that's been either stained or something of that nature. So as you can see out here, there's King Road over here. And then there's Dylan's room with the windows. And then there's a step down right here. See how the flooring kind of continues? It's different. There's gray and white here, and there's like brown here. So I don't know if that flooring is the same or not. So hang in there with me. These pictures right here are from 11/12, where the infamous camera originated. Okay? This is from the kitchen at 11/12. As you can see from the back kitchen, you can see 1122 King Road. You can see the back balcony, and you can see the slider area, and you can see Queen Road Apartments and that road right there. So you get a very good view right here. Do you think, excuse me, do you believe or think that there was anything seen, taken pictures of, or anything of that nature on that night? Or do you think maybe they could have been cooking, washing dishes, late night snack, you know, cleaning up, partying, whatever, and they happened to look out? I'm just speculating here. So there's a view from 11/12 to the back of the house. This is one of the bedrooms at 11/12. That's right? 11/12 is where the camera is, the light bulb cam. That's 11/12, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is it 11/18? My brain's not working all that great right now. Well, regardless, this is the house directly to the side where they said that they heard a loud thud, heard the dog barking, and a whimpering sound. So this window right here leads to the back of, or it faces 1122. Another perfect view. These bedrooms are a lot bigger, but look at the flooring as well. It's kind of cheaply done, right? But it looks nice. And this is another bedroom and 1118 or 11, yeah, it's 1118. I don't know why I said 1112. 1112. Okay, thank you. So this is 1112 and this is the other bedroom. There's only two bedrooms in the house because I looked at the floor plan and this is another bedroom and they don't have very many windows. So unlike 1122, this house doesn't have a lot of windows. It just has, two. And as you can tell, it faces the blue. Um, I guess this is where Hunter lived. This house, him and that other girl, Emily or whatever her name was. Wasn't Maddie's room really small? Remember with the party night and it's 4 a.m., you're sound asleep. Do you think you would hear anything from next door in a drunken sleep? Good question. Good question. I don't know. Probably not. And this is a photo of the house being torn down. Looky looky, another white car. There's so many white cars in that area. I don't know how they got it, how they got the right one. I mean, I don't know how they got it. I don't know how they were able to really pinpoint it. But one thing that intrigued me about this picture, and a lot of people have talked about it, is this little opening right here. This is right. Xana's room would have been, let's see. Okay, that would have been Dylan. That would have led to the kitchen. That would have been a staircase. This would have been Xana's room right here. So this is right above Xana's room, which would have been Kaylee's room. Does anybody in the chat, is anybody in the chat construction? Is there any reason that that little opening would have been needed to be there? Ventilation, um, anything like that? Can y'all tell me? Any of y'all married to construction workers? Any of y'all family members, working building houses or anything like that? I've always wondered because here you can see the staircase fairly well, and there's Dylan's room right here, and this would have been the living room area. Look at that crack right there. So there's a lot of things that were wrong with this house. It looked like, but this really intrigued me when I saw it when they were tearing the house down. Can y'all think any reason why that would be there? I was married to one and I've never seen that before. Me either. It's just intriguing to me that this is on this side, but there's not one on this side. If it was used for ventilation, kind of getting under the flooring to go fix maybe pipes or something like that, but there wasn't any opening on the outside, so I don't know how you would have got in there. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. And of course, this is a night shot of the inside of the house. This window area right here is a window that they spent a lot of time on. There you can see the trash, you can see the bar stools, you can see that pantry, because this is supposedly, in some other people's mindset, this was the opening of the tunnel right there, right next to that pantry. Okay, Aquarius, I can maybe to level the foundation. Okay. Yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know one way or the other. So I was kind of curious to get y'all's thoughts on that to see if you would be able to have any insight on that. But one thing about this picture that I thought was interesting is that they've already done the evidence. Okay, so this is the photo. This is the picture where I believe the pots and the pans were located, like all those dirty dishes. And then there's the kitchen area over here where it has the bag and everything else. But looking at this picture, as I showed y'all the other day in the live, and this is what I want you to kind of get used to seeing when you're looking at stuff, not just on pictures, but in reality, in real life. Is there anything out of order? Is there anything out of the ordinary that shouldn't be there? And granted, it's a night picture, it's not the clearest, but you can see enough that you would notice if there's anything that looked a little bit out of order. I always thought, why did they leave that trash can right there? Why is that trash can there? How come they didn't gather it for evidence or empty it once it was cleared? I guess that's just my OCD there or my own issues there because that bothers me. Anybody else bothered by that trash can or that pizza box or any of that other stuff that's out back that you've seen? Does that not bother you? 'Cause it bothers me a little bit, So supposedly this door lock was either not locked or it was open when the perpetrator walked in and did what he did. Okay. So if this door was not broken into, did somebody leave that open for him? Ronnie says, no, I wondered that too. Many have been bothered by that too. Awesome. I'm glad I'm not the only one because that really bothers me. Like, did you really look thoroughly through that trash can or did you throw that trash in there and so you know exactly what's in there? Did they clean up after dusting that paper and anything? And look at the flooring. Looking at the flooring in the kitchen because this has not been cleaned up, y'all. None of this has been cleaned up. This is just a picture, probably a day or two, even 3 days after the murders. So they didn't clean up anything. So if there was blood on this flooring, they would have covered it up with a sheet or something where people couldn't have gotten photos of it or anything like that. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about that sliding glass door. There was a pick the pizza look books on top of it at first, so they must have took the pizza block. Okay. Do we know they didn't look, considering everything else? Shockingly, perhaps they didn't. Who knows? Very true. Very true. We don't know. What is so crazy if they would have had to be the perfect storm? Slider open, bedroom doors open, 5 cars in the front, no one hears anything. So odd. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Doc, you're right on point right there because, you know, it did seem like the perfect storm. Hi, sorry, my second sentence was a statement. Okay, no problem, no worries. So, welcome, Doc, and welcome, Alex. I've never seen you in chat before, but you're more than welcome to be here. Thank you for showing up. We're basically just looking at these photos and we're kind of just having some kind of discussion about some of the things that people see in these photos that because we all see something different. And that's the beauty of a perception, Have you ever heard, there could be a fender bender 4 people see it, but not one of those 4 people is going to be able to see the same thing because they were all focused on some different area than the other person. Maybe one person couldn't have heard that well, anything like that, So you just never know. So let me see what other pictures I got there. I got some more, so we're not done. Here's the clearer picture. As you can see, this is still going down. So this would be Dylan's room right here. Santa's room would be right here. This would be Dylan's room. And I wish you could zoom in there and see anything. You know what tripped me out about all this is, usually you see pipes coming from the ground that are supplying water to the house. I didn't see any pipes. I mean, of course, you see electrical stuff here. There's one. But I didn't notice any pipes. Did y'all notice any pipes when y'all were watching that? I thought that was extremely odd when I was watching the live, and I didn't notice any pipes whatsoever. I mean, this stuff kind of came down really quickly. You can tell that it's not a lot to it. You can see the sheetrock or whatever that is crumbling. You can see the hole again. If you can look in there, it looks like a beam right here. So it's right under Kaylee's room. So maybe this is just a crawl space to be able to get into the plumbing or the electrical stuff in case something goes wrong. I don't know. But how would you get there? How would you get in there? Unless there's something on the other side, like there's another door in her room where you could open it up and crawl in there. Like an attic or something. I don't know. What do y'all think? What do y'all think, guys? Too perfect. The perfect storm also seems like Kaylee frantically texting at the truck and then calling. 2 hours of a lead up. It's what it looks like. Very good. No fridge, no stove. They stripped the inside, so pipes too, I guess. Okay, that makes sense. Because I didn't see any pipes, and I was like, "Where the hell are the pipes at? Where's the stuff at?" And there's that picture I was telling you about. I don't know if y'all have seen this one before, but there's the stove. Looks like somebody had cooked something on it. There's some food stuff. They had a little strainer container. They had some other stuff. So this is right outside the slider. You walk in, there's the stove in that area. It's just creepy. It's just, I hate to use that word, but just just abnormal to be able to look into this house like this and know that if you can see it that openly, who else was looking? Who else was looking into that house like that? Who else could see into? Because as we talked about, voyeurism leads to stalking a lot of times, and I don't want to get into the legality of the case because that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just mostly just focusing on the photos and wanting you to tell me what you see, what you observe. Like if you were looking at this as an investigator, is there anything out of order that could pertain to a criminal act? Of course, you would go in here, you would look in this little bucket looking area, see if there's any knives or any kind of sharp instrument missing. If they had steak knives or, one of those blocks that hold the steak knives and the kitchen knives and things of that nature, you would notice and see if any of that was missing. You'd notice if there was any scissors missing, if there was any kind of other sharp object that could be utilized as puncture instruments. I was meaning like pipe to the sink or the tub. I don't know because you don't see that when it goes down. That's true. So as you're looking through this window, you're thinking, who else? Or this is the slider actually. You're asking yourself, who else could have been just standing right there looking? Because as you know, if you're inside the house right here and it's all lit up like this, if somebody's in the shadows and it's all dark out here, you can't see them. Not like they can see you. And there's another picture of the whole house totally torn down. Another thing that I noticed as I zoomed in here, because I'm curious like that, is I didn't notice any of the sheetrock discolored. I didn't notice any kind of discoloration of any kind of liquid. I mean, surely you wouldn't be able to tell because it's all in the interior, but surely there would have been something that would have shown you, hey, this sheetrock's red, this little area is a little discolored, this wood's kind of this or that or the other. Maybe it's just the way my mind thinks. What do y'all think? You think I'm crazy? No signs of a struggle in the kitchen. Exactly. Y'all think I'm crazy thinking the way I'm thinking? But this is how my analytical mind thinks. I mean, I don't know if people have shared on this, but I'm sharing it with you guys. The house has been demolished at this point. And I shared this morning on Swamp Rose's page. I'm going to share it with you guys on here. Um, this is supposedly Bethany's door that leads out into the hallway. The staircase is over here in this area. There's a TV right here, or a computer monitor that's plugged in. As you can see, there's a locking mechanism there that we discussed this morning. And not intending to really rehash a lot of it, but you know, yeah, you're right. Maybe people went in there and stripped the copper out before. But as far as this lock, look how sturdy this lock looks. And Jeff H and I were talking about this um, on Swamp's channel this morning, and Swamp was, talking about it as well. And we're discussing, and I want you to, as we're looking through this through investigators' eyes and brains, analytically, not speculatory, do you believe that possibly these doors were locked that night or they were open? Do you believe that whenever those girls went to bed that night, all of them, because supposedly everybody was laying down by 4 a.m., according to the PCA, and if they were all laying down and these doors were locked, you would need the code to be able to open these unless somebody opened them for you. The only person that we know that was opening and closing her door was Dylan. She did it 3 times. So we know that she was opening and closing her door. Someone who knows needs to come forward and speak. Okay. Okay. I would have locked my door. There was a cleaning crew in. I don't think they were sleeping. Okay. So So let me rephrase that question again, okay, for you guys to kind of keep on topic here a little bit. Not that you're getting too far out there, but I want you to answer me this question. If these doors were locked, closed, because someone mentioned this morning a good question, did they lock behind you? Like as soon as the door shuts, it locks. Do you have to type in the code from the outside to be able to get back in? So if that happened, all you would have to worry about is the door shutting. And the only person, once again, we know that opened her door 3 times supposedly was Dylan. So let's think about that. If Dylan was the one that opened her door, she would have been able to just flip that down, open the door, look out, shut it, flip it down, open the door, shut it, flip it down, open the door, and shut it 3 times. But were these doors, was Maddie's door shut and locked? Obviously, if Kaylee came from her room, we don't know because it was stated that she was in the bed with Maddie, so we don't even know if she came from her room. All we know is that the dog was found the next day in her room with the door shut. So obviously it was locked. How did they get in there? Did they bust the door down? Did somebody know the code? How did they get the dog out? Answer me that. I'm quizzing you that. How did they get the dog out? Because Jack wasn't around there till later on, so I'm sure he knew the code to Kaylee's room. Okay. Bethany was so safe, her locks looked as safe as she was. The lock almost represents Bethany. I like that. The door wasn't locked. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you would believe that these are key locks, the keypad locks, meaning that there's a keypad on the other side that you have to push the code in that you program yourself to open that door. So, as I was stating this morning in Swamp Rose's It's Live, I was stating, well, who all knows the code to those door locks? Who all had those door lock codes? It makes you wonder. I mean, it makes you think a little bit because that could narrow down a lot of things if those doors were locked and shut. Not everybody would have those door codes. And of course, the front door was open from the inside. But once again, what made that front door wide open at 8:30 in the morning that somebody saw from the street? Who opened that door? You get what I'm saying, guys? So this just made me wonder when I saw this picture. I was like, whoa, because that looks like a strong lock. I was under the impression that it was just a doorknob and a flip lock. You know those flip locks that you just flip up and it locks your door. But that's a secure lock. Where was Ethan's body found? I believe that they said it was on the other side of Xana's door, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But let me show you some more pictures. Let me. Welcome everybody who's in the chat, the new people that I haven't seen in here before. Thank you for showing up. Please remember to hit the like and to subscribe if you enjoy what I'm presenting here. This is just a picture that I found that was interesting. It looks like it was taken up on the hill by Jack's house because it shows that one house where the girl found her undergarments in her cup holder. There's Hunter's house or apartment building right here, and here's 1112, and here's 1122, and here is 710. So it's a good outline of what somebody, if they were looking down on that area, what they would see. Look, if I'm standing here and I'm looking, I can see right into the kitchen. I can see right into Kaylee's room. I can see in here because all I need is some good binoculars, man. I can even see in here. I can sit here, not even be noticed, and memorize or take notes of when people get home, when people leave, what hours are the highest traffic areas in this house, when the lights go off, when the lights come on. That's why I think Dot was saying she was that morning. If you know the Dot story, yes, I do. That pic is a good perspective. I've never seen that pic. It's awesome. You see so much, and I'll bet there's a cam on that place. I don't know. I went through the block and I saw a lot. I looked at all the houses on Walenta. I looked at the houses on what's that other road? Taylor. I looked at the houses on I can't remember what that other street was. But I figured out all the cameras that I could see based on Google Earth and the velocity between that and the road. So there's a lot of cameras on Walenta that people don't even really know about, and they could have seen a lot. But let's go down this avenue, okay? Because I've always wanted to um, talk about this, not to speculate about it, but just to talk about it. I know they talked about the car coming in neighborhood so many times, this, that, and the other. You know the story. Well, this is not a coulda, woulda, shoulda moment. This is a what if or what could have happened if the individual who did this was on foot. Because if you're standing here and you're memorizing or you're writing down or you're taking notes or you're taking photos or you're taking videos of all these houses, because think about this, okay? Because we're looking at this on an evidentiary basis. We're not looking at it on what the PCA says or anything else like that. So I want you to think, to stay with me here. If you're looking at this house and you're looking at the occupants, you're also looking at this house and the occupants. You're also looking at this house and the occupants. You're looking at this house and the occupants, and you're looking at this house and the occupants. Because you want to know when is the quietest time to be able to slip in there, do what you need to do, and get out with the least resistance. Because people believe that this individual just happened to get lucky that all the cards fell into place and he was able to come in, do what he did, come out, and leave, and supposedly nobody was the wiser. So, do we have any burglars in the chat? You don't have to say. Ethan's body was found in the doorway just outside the bedroom door. Okay. So, looking at this picture, stay with me here. If you're surveying the possibility to commit a crime, whether it's to break into this house, whether it's to steal you know, stereo equipment, the speaker that they had, whatever, and you're kind of surveying and getting the outline of the neighborhood, you're going to take some time to do this. And like I said, this is in no way talking about the PCA or any of that stuff. And I know that people hate to go away from the PCA because then they say, well, then you're just speculating or just this, that, and the other. But you could be, but think about it like this. Logically, if somebody was looking to do something in that house or any of these homes around this neighborhood, wouldn't you be surveying the area more than one time? More than 12 times? More than 13 times? Because you're trying to get a baseline of when the best time is to attack your prey. It's kind of like a hunter. You're in the deer stand. You're not just going to go in the deer stand today and just go out there and say, well, I'm going to go shoot me a deer. You're not going to go in that deer stand. You're not going to sit there for hours hoping that a deer comes out and that you're going to shoot him. No, you're going to go multiple days, as many days as you need to survey the landscape, to see what best days, what time is best to get what you want. The same thing with fishing. People have known that the best time to fish is right before sunrise and right at sunset because the water's the coldest, so the fish come up. At least that's what I've been told. So if you're looking to do something to any of these homes, you got to find a focal point where you can see everything around you, where you're not caught off guard on the night or the time that you commit the crime. Unless they had been there many times before. Yeah, that's true. Hey Nina, how you doing? Not if they knew the people's routine or out of camera anyway. Can't wait to hear the prosecution. Yeah. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there because, if Carla said that BK did it, wouldn't he need to know the house? According to what we've been told, BK wasn't stalking Kaylee. So I agree it had to be someone familiar to the house. So that's what I'm telling you guys right now. What if it what I mean, we're assuming that somebody knew this house. I want you to think of it like a criminal thinks of it, not a normal person. A normal person would say, "Yeah, you know the house. You go in there. You know the layout. It's going to be in and out." Well, I want you to blindfold yourself and walk around your own house in the dark. Let me know how that goes for you. Tell me how easy it is for you to maneuver around your own home blindfolded. And you live there. So if you don't bump into anything, you're able to maneuver from one area to the other in 9 minutes without bumping into anything, without making noise, without any of that. I get that. I get that. So let's think of it a little bit like that. Hey AR, how you doing, buddy? You want to hop on the panel, AR? Because we're talking about criminal activities, and I'd like your insight a little bit. Let me give you the link if you'd like to come up here. I know I work like this. It's just out of the blue here, but here you go. Come on up. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit. Um, so I want you to think about this one more time before we look at the next picture. This was Kopaka's mother's vehicle right here. Look familiar? What does that look like? Looks like a Hyundai, right? Does it look like a Elantra? Let's get back to this other picture and tease you a little bit with that. Come on up, AR. I want to pick your brain on this. So tonight, I want you guys to blindfold yourself, hopefully with somebody assisting you, and I want you to walk around your house in 9 minutes. Try to get from the back door to the front door in the dark without making a ruckus, without hitting anything, any of that. And let me know how that goes. Hey AR, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Have you been able to
This
catch
is,
any of what I'm saying?
you know what? I just barely jumped on, man. I was out, spent a little bit of time with the wife, so just came on, saw you were live, and thought I'd better come on and show you some love and spend some time with you guys. So
Well,
here I am.
I appreciate that. Well, let me. You see the picture in the background, right?
I do.
Okay. I was telling the chat that if I was gonna potentially not stalk, but if I was gonna plan a robbery or a burglary or something of that sort, and let's say 1122 is my prize on the block, I'm gonna make sure that this house, this house, this house, this house, this house. I'm gonna learn the layout of the block. Is that not true? You're not just gonna
Yeah, I mean,
stay on one house and just learn that layout.
from my past experiences, I was always one that learned the surroundings before I even learned the common denominator. Like if you said, if we were looking at 1122 King Road, I wanted to learn everything around that because that is literally my danger zone, is everything around the home. So I need to better learn that than just the home itself because that, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just my opinion. I can learn the actual crime scene home in a heartbeat, where I need to learn my surroundings to even be able to get to it or leave it.
Right. Well, I want to give Crime Circus a shout out. This is where I got this photo, so I don't want them to feel slighted me using their photo. But I was telling the chat, if I was going to look in breaking into this home or committing a crime or whatever, I'm going to make sure I learn the layout. Like, what time do these people come home? How many people live in this house? How many people live here? How many people live here? What are some vehicles that are not normally there? Because, like you said, if I'm focusing on this only, you're going to get caught by something over here and not just the camera. You know, if somebody's leaving for work, if somebody's leaving to go jogging, if somebody's letting the dog out, because there's a lot of individuals that let their dogs out early in the morning like that. Is that not true?
I agree with you. I do. I absolutely agree with you.
We have a comment. It said, "Did Brian bolt because he heard Dylan door unlock instead of locking it, oblivious to the fact she had already unlocked it and she was watching before that? So he sped away quick, thinking 911 call sooner." Good point. You just never know. I mean, that's a good point. But the what I wanted to talk about. AR, have you ever known somebody who's broken into a home that just blindly goes in, commits a crime, and then runs out on impulse? I'm sure it
Well,
happens.
in my
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, in my early years, I mean, before I really got smarter at what I was doing, obviously many know my background. I've been convicted of a lot of crimes, so I was obviously a criminal. And one of my things I was very good at was breaking and entering and getting in and out of houses. But when I was first young and getting into it, I wasn't wasn't very good at it. I didn't use my brain very well, so I
Yeah.
did do a lot of impulse stuff. And it's far different than a planned situation. When you actually take the time to know what you're doing, it's far different than an impulse. So I mean, I get what a lot of people's thoughts are, including what I believe you're discussing. When you think about it, an impulse break-in in this type of crime is just really really hard to fathom, unless it's just somebody that doesn't care. They know that they're going to be able to get in and out because of the devastation they're going to do. Where if we're really looking at someone like Brian Koberger doing this, people say he's breaking in because of a passion or he had lust for one of the girls. Well, then he wouldn't do that impulsively, and it wouldn't have ended up in this type of carnage, in my opinion. So
Ronnie has a question for you, AR. She said, "Would a dog have stopped you from going in a house?"
if the dog was in the house, I would have never gone in. Yeah, I don't, in the criminal type of world like that, you have to factor in what could be a reason I actually get heard or caught. And a
Yeah.
dog is an immediate heard and most likely caught. So yeah, no, especially in a situation like this, I mean, you got to think about it, to engage. When we really think about it, if you're going in to create devastation, you want the least, especially if you're doing it in a manner that people are saying where he's trying to be silent and deadly. Why would you do it with a dog? That takes
Yeah.
away the silence. And now that puts your deadly at risk because now you're at risk. I just don't see it. Like, I don't. And how do you plan and stock a home like everybody says and not know there was a dog at that home?
Exactly, exactly. And think about all the dogs in that neighborhood. You would have to account for all of them because dogs aren't like humans. You break a stick as you're walking across the yard or something, man, they're going to start barking. They're going to start barking. So they're going to alert somebody. So
Well,
that's
especially
go
those
ahead.
little dogs, as you and I both know, are yappers.
Yeah,
And I
I
know
have one.
people are saying this breed of dog isn't a barker. All dogs bark when they feel like their space is being impeded or their owner is being crept up on. I mean, my dogs are completely silent dogs. They're snorers, not barkers. But I
Yeah,
guarantee if you come knocking on my door where my wife is, they're gonna bark. I mean, it just is what it is. So um, I don't see little Murphy not barking when supposedly right in the next room over people are getting stabbed to death. I just don't agree with that.
I mean, when you hear the term, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit here. When you hear the term, it sounded like Kaylee was playing with her dog. You have two pit bulls, right? What does
I
that
got
sound?
three.
Three of them.
I
Okay.
got three
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
I didn't know you had three. I know you had two, but
Yeah.
I didn't know about the third one. But whenever
Yep.
I don't have a dog, so I can't really answer this for myself. But when let's say that you're at the other end of the house and Jen is in the living room or something, and you're in the bedroom playing with the dogs. What would that sound like in the living room if you were playing with? Obviously, your dogs are bigger than Murphy, but what does that statement mean to you?
Well, that's what's really odd because first of all, you got to think of somebody saying, "Well, it sounded like they were playing with their dog." Well, that's typically like a ball bouncing, the dog running around. You don't really equate barking into that type of situation, but there's noise, there's running, there's playing. My dogs, it's literally bouncing off the walls, jumping up and the couches and stuff of that nature. So you're gonna have a lot more noise. But
Yeah.
with Murphy, I would think it would almost be like chasing the ball, playing. You hear
Right.
the little bit of growl, under the breath growl that they do when you hold the ball and you shake it around. And I just think at the end of my day, when I hear that put into play, that's almost a manufactured statement. And I don't know if that would be manufactured by Dylan or by law enforcement to give kind of a visual on what they're trying to make it sound like happen. Um, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, would somebody like a college student that's, let's just say they've had one too many drink and they're trying to sleep, are they going to say, man, I heard that dog upstairs and they were playing with the dog? Or would they say, man, fuck, I can't believe they weren't going to sleep. Like, why were they
Right.
being so loud? What was going on up there? It was like a wrestling match. So I'm kind of bothered by the wording that's put into that, because I don't believe it. I don't really follow it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as well. Because when I heard that and I read that in the PCA, just like everybody else, when it first came out, I thought, okay, it sounded like Kaylee was playing with her dog. There's not a definitive there. She didn't say it sounded or it sounds. The sounds were consistent with Kaylee playing with her dog. She said it sounded like there was some uncertainty there. Like she wasn't certain what she heard. And, if the dog had any kind of nails, the whole house is wood, or wood laminate or whatever that is. You would have heard the tick, 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 tick all over the floor, right? Wouldn't you have heard
Oh,
that?
there's no doubt. No doubt. Let me tell you, just when my dogs walk into the little kitchen area or into the bathroom, and I'm sure that home is probably vinyl flooring or something of that nature. To get that amount of square footage with, a wood floor look would be vinyl flooring, which
Yeah.
is just like if I sat here with my nails and just scratched on the floor and you were below me, you'd be going nuts. You'd be pissed. You'd be like, what
Yeah.
in the heck is going on up there? So a little dog running around, you hear every footstep. Trust me, I know. When they wake me up, what are they doing? I can hear them all the way across the house.
Yeah,
So
because their paws
um,
are like, anxious and it's back and
right.
forth, back and forth. So that's what I'm trying to understand. Is that what she heard, or did she hear the actual dog jumping on the bed, jumping off the bed, running across the floor, barking, growling, anything of that nature? Because when I hear somebody say, "Well, it sounded like the owner was playing with their dog," I think about what you just said about your dog, with the ball and everything else. That would be a total different sound than the dog trying to protect their owner. No matter,
Right.
even if the dog was not vicious, don't you have a belief that the dog would try to protect both of those girls because he was close to both of them?
I want to say I would think so. And just real quick, kind of Susan Russo, when she states Murphy wasn't a small dog, I agree with you. I get it. 30, 40 pounds isn't really a small dog. But when you compare him to what I have, it's like, that's a small dog. Yeah, I've got 100-pound dog. So
Yeah.
it's a difference to me. But, and the thing that people need to, in their mind, they've got to try to grasp, you also have to figure Dylan's room is right below Maddie's room. Okay, so
Hmm.
it's directly below it. Now, if Murphy was in Kaylee's room, where they found it later to be, Murphy was found in Kaylee's room. So
Right.
let's say Kaylee and Murphy were in Kaylee's room and Maddie had passed out in her room, that would not be directly above Dylan. So how loud was it really? You got to think about that. You got to say, wait a minute, Dylan, if you can hear Murphy with the little feet like playing on the floor all the way in Kaylee's room, there's something wrong with that picture. Now, if you
Yeah.
hear it, and you're projecting as, well, I hear that in Maddie's room, that most likely wasn't the dog. That was somebody up there doing the deed, and then you've got to wonder, that would be far more of a noise than dog's feet on a floor. You're going to hear. I would figure in a crime like this, he didn't show up in tennis shoes. This has to be some sort of solid soled shoe, almost like a boot.
Yeah.
Um, and you're going to hear every thud of the footstep, but you got to hear the bed moving. When they projected, when Christy Gonzalez came out and said, this room is so small that you can't get in and out of it without bumping into the desk or the bed that was in the room. Now you have to picture a fight for life with a knife, with an intruder, and two young gals asleep in the bed. And I'll possibly say, by the way I've seen Maddie in video, maybe she was completely passed out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was gone to the world, but Kaylee was not. So I do believe Kaylee was awake in this, and that's a fight. And you didn't hear that in the room right above you with vinyl flooring and thin wall? Get out of here. There's no way. There's no way
Plus,
that you say, oh, the dog was playing
yeah.
upstairs. There's a clear difference between dogs playing and a quadruple homicide taking place. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I would think also, AR, that that bed looks small when you do the walkthrough. I have that video still on my library, but I was thinking, that bed looked tiny. Like you're saying, that room is tiny. So if you're doing all that kind of stuff, that bed is sliding across the floor. It's bumping into the wall. You're hearing all kinds of different types of noises that you've probably never heard before. And if you heard those
Well,
noises, like you said,
I'm gonna say to Leon 1010, and I appreciate the comment that the bed wouldn't move, you wouldn't hear that on a vinyl floor. No matter what you do, if your knee hits the side of the bed, you hear that bed move, because the bottom of the bed, the frame of the bed, is metal against a vinyl floor. You hear that. You also hear it bang against the wall. You don't think it moves much, but you only need a half an inch to create noise. And
hmm
I guarantee if you're hitting that, leaning over that, trying to stab somebody, let me tell you, in the penitentiary, you have steel bunk beds, and you can hear every single movement when a fight breaks out in that cell. Every moment you hear it. So I tend to disagree. I mean, I understand that people feel as though the bed doesn't move much. The bed doesn't have to move much. The person's moving. Even the person that's enduring the attack, every time that blade goes in and out of you, you move and you hit the wall. And you hear
yeah,
that through the entirety of the home. You hear it all the way through the home.
I would agree with that, AR, because even when you get in bed, people have to look at it logically, okay? And I'm not trying to disagree with anybody, but look at it logically. If you're getting into bed, does that bed not make some noise? Does it not make noise?
From my opinion, anything in a 3-floor home typically means you got pretty loud floors. I hate to say that, they echo. And then you add laminate flooring onto that into an older home, you hear everything. You hear everything. And that's why everybody always says, man, I don't want to be on the bottom floor. I want to be on the top floor so I don't hear anything.
Well,
And this isn't a crime.
there's the bedroom right there. There's the bedroom and the bed.
Right. So you're talking about, that's probably a twin size bed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you look at the side of the bed against the wall, do you see the space between that, between the mattress and the wall. You see
Yeah.
that crack all the way
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
right? The edge of the bed, when it's in a frame, will never be directly against the wall. You will always have at least an inch. Now you have to factor in, while we're looking at this picture they have on the screen, the intruder would have to be on the right hand side where there's a couple of foot opening right there, correct? Where you see the floor.
Yes.
That's where they would start initially. Now they're pushing up against that bed. Whoever's sleeping on the right hand side is an easy target.
Yes.
Whoever is on the left hand side up against that wall is not as easy of a target. And that little space that you see running up and down the side of that bed in the wall means that mattress hits that wall every single time your knee hits the right hand side of the bed, meaning every time you thrust that blade, you move that bed. Now, here's the problem. And people will say, well, I don't think there was any noise. Every time that mattress moves from the right to the left towards the wall, that frame underneath it, which is metal, hits that wall. Imagine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Every time that mattress moves, okay, whether it's an inch, 2 inches, whatever it may be, that whole frame, which is not bolted to the floor, it is not bolted to the floor, it's free to move,
Mm-hmm.
will shift no matter which way you do. So you think every time you stab, it hits the wall. Every time you pull out, it comes back with you, creating more distance from the wall. So the next time you make a stabbing movement, it shifts to the wall again. And
Yes.
that's going to happen every single time you thrust.
Because look at that round red circle. Let me see if y'all can see my pointer. But right here, this is where they found the sheath. Right here. So in assumption, this is where Maddie was. And if this bed was like AR is saying, and the killer was either on the bed, he was on the side of the bed, because we had heard from the Gonsalves family that Kaylee was found slumped over right here in the corner. And I know I heard that. I'm not crazy. Did you hear that as well, AR?
Yeah, that's exactly how Christy and Steve explained it. That she was
Okay.
up against the corner, slumped, in a
So,
straight up and down sitting position. So
so
she
have
got
you ever
backed into
have
that
you ever
corner.
had siblings, AR, when you're little, when you're younger, and maybe you're trying to tickle your sister, you're trying to tickle your little brother, and what do? They get in the turtle, or not the turtle, but the crab walk style, and they walk backwards, right, to try to kick you off, to try to kick you away while they're balancing themselves on their back hands. So as you're doing this, try to imagine you're trying to do the same thing to try to keep this guy off of you. You're trying to keep the distance between you and this person. You're pushing against this wall. You might even kick him in the face. I mean, you might get some good shots in. I mean, we're people have the perception that it was instantaneous and there was no kind of damage done by the victim to the perpetrator. So I just want to throw that out there, and I want to say something to the chat. Hey, you guys, like I say always, you're free to have your opinion. You're free to have your thoughts. Just be respectful, because we keep it respectful in this chat. We don't try to start arguments. We don't try to push our opinion on anybody. Everybody's opinion is valid, so keep it classy, okay? And if you can't do that, the mods will time you out. I give them permission to. Y'all do your job. All right. So, what do you think about the rest of the room, AR? How about on
You
this
know,
side?
uh,
Go ahead.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like where your little cursor there is actually a closet area. So people need to really project this room. I like my prison cell might have been bigger than this room was. I mean,
Oh yeah.
this is not a big room at all. Um, so you're probably only seeing from the right side of that bed to the closet 2 feet, maybe three at the most. Now you also have to remember at the foot of this bed, when you're coming in, she had a desk. So you
Right.
only had a
Right.
foot or two in between the end of this bed to get into the room. Now, this is in the dark. This
Yeah.
is in the dark. And I agree with Leon that, like I said, I believe Maddie was completely passed out. I think she was gone to the world. She was tired, probably had
She
a
could
long
have even
day,
been on her
drank a few.
stomach. You know, she could have even
Yeah,
on her
I
stomach.
think, and if people came to me and said, "Well, Maddie didn't make a peep. She got caught off guard and got handled." I could agree with that 110%. I
Oh yeah.
really can. I can say, just by seeing the way she was acting, when she was at the grub truck, and she looked intoxicated. She looked out of it completely. So, and I've been in those days. I'm sure we all have, where we've had one too many. We just crawl in our bed. We don't wake up till morning. We're gone.
Right. Exactly.
So that makes sense to me. Now, Kaylee's the other story. And this bedroom, you also got to think with the size of it, the echo of the noise that it would portray. This isn't going to be just a room that, the noise is kind of just sunken into the walls, or this is the very top floor of a 3-bedroom home with very open spaces below it and windows. And coming from my past experiences, I know noise levels because, like I said, my early years were about learning how to commit crimes. I learned where I could get away with things, how I could avoid noise, what type of areas I could get in and out of quietly, the types I can't. This is an echo chamber in this home. Everything we see about this home is an absolute echo chamber. And Dylan Mortensen's room, who is supposedly the eyewitness, the one that left all the statements about what she heard, is directly below this room. Directly below it. So, the stairs by itself are going to be loud. But then you get into this third floor area where you got to come off the stairs onto a platform. All of that's right above Dylan Mortensen's room. And I just don't believe, oh, I heard her playing with her dog. No, you heard the crime happening. You
Yeah.
heard it. And I get that maybe everybody's trying to be a little bit careful in the information that they release and all of that. Maybe that's why the PCA was worded the way it was.
Yes.
But transparency is key. And they should have just came out and said, look, this young lady was scared out of her mind. She heard everything freaking happening, and that's why she buried herself in her room. Think about how much more believable that would be, that this young lady heard everything happening on the third floor. It was clear as day. She, took a dump in her diaper, got nervous and scared, didn't know what to do, locked herself in the room, thought she could escape. I mean, this is the way I would have told the story. Thought she could escape at one point, opened her door to try to bolt, and just happened to come face to face with the guy leaving the scene. Oh
Right.
shit, closed her door again. Well, I'm not coming back out. I'm going, I'm hiding in my closet now, hoping somebody calls 911. And I would have believed that. I would believe that. But the
Well, you
story's
know,
being
AR.
told, no
You
way.
know, growing up in an abusive home, I used to, my room was down the hall from my parents, and my dad was abusive, so I could hear. He used to put his hand on my mom, and I'd hear her crying, and I'd hear stuff banging around and stuff. I mean, even if you're in a deep sleep, you're gonna hear stuff. But I mean, if you're intoxicated, it's a different type of sleep. Even though you're more relaxed. It takes you a while to process what's going on, but she was awake. She was looking out that door. She was looking out that door 3 times. So, like you said, she probably heard more than what we realized she heard, and that would have been more viable had the police just done that. If they would have just said, like you said, she's traumatized, she saw a lot, she's seen a lot, or heard a lot, she just freaked out. I agree
Yep.
with you. I agree with you. We wouldn't be near as far as what we are as far as people's speculations.
And one thing too, I want to add. Alex Zella says, "Think about how you can't hear properly while you're awake, and why won't I address that simple question?" And that's a very key point. If I'm awoken out of a dead sleep, my initial reaction is never going to be fully coherent. I'm not going to fully understand what's going on. It's going to take me a minute to process that. It would take anybody a moment to go from dead asleep to woken to fully comprehend what's going on. However, this young lady opened her door 3 times and can clearly state each time she opened the door which sound she was hearing to do so. Everything from the dog playing upstairs to
Mm-hmm.
a muffled whimper, and then a statement of "I'm here to help you." So, just I'm going to be understanding of being awoke out of a dead sleep. Got it. But then I'm processing the dog playing upstairs. Okay, got it. Don't fully coherently know what's going on yet, but I feel as though someone's playing upstairs with the dog. It's a little
Right.
frustrating, it's a little loud. So I open my door and I say, "Hey, can you guys calm it down? Can you quiet it down?" But also don't forget that she heard someone say, "Someone's here." Someone's here began the whole process. So to hear how this is being stated step by step, she was coherent. She, at some point, should have been able to recognize there was an issue. From "there's somebody here" to somebody playing with the dog upstairs to a whimpering and crying outside of the door to the fact of someone saying, "I'm here to help you." Well, now there's something wrong. Because why would somebody have to say, "I'm here to help you," if it was just a normal night? This doesn't all add up. And there may very well be more to the story that we don't know yet.
Of course. Of
Maybe we
course.
don't know yet. Maybe there's more to really what her statement is than what's been specified. I'm willing to agree to that because I mean, if I can say it clearly, I think the law enforcement, Brent Payne, and the others that worked on writing this PCA threw her directly under the bus, and that was a douchebag maneuver altogether. I don't think you do that to a college student, especially one in a home where a quadruple homicide happened, because by throwing her directly under the bus like that, all you did was direct attention to her so that many feel as though she either played a part, was guilty or something, or is lying. And that's a douchebag maneuver by law enforcement altogether. They should never have done that. All they had to enter into the PCA was a surviving roommate heard stuff happening within the home. We have clear as day statements based upon her accountability of what happened, and we're going to leave it at that. We're going to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
They douchebagged her. They threw her under the bus. Which, at the end of the day, the entire feeling that I get out of this, if this is really how they want to move forward with this case, is I feel as though they thought the feds were going to take this case over,
Mm-hmm.
allowing a break for the state to say, "Oh, thank God, the feds are going to prosecute this. We're going to allow them to go first, and then we're going to utilize every bit of information that they have in that trial to charge him on the state level as well. But then the feds didn't charge him. They didn't move forward. And now the state's left with, oh shit, what do we do now? We're in the public eye, we're in front of everybody, and we wish we had, kind of went a different route with this. And I understand what people are saying. I really do. I get how people feel as though it's like we're only seeing a bit of the picture. But that's all that's been given to us.
Of course,
So people get up. Go ahead.
kind of like this picture, AR. You remember seeing this picture very early on? This is one of the mattresses, and it has
I do.
circled. It had circled of the blood staying under the thing. You know, a lot of individuals have no real concept of criminal acts, I would believe. And I'm not trying to say that to be hurtful or anything else, but they said, how come it wasn't soaked up in blood? If it was as bloody as the coroner stated, how come that whole mattress you couldn't have seen have blood stains on it? You care to comment on that?
Well, first of all, the first thing I have to say is this actually shows the inexperience of how this crime scene was handled. You
Yeah.
do not bring this type of, I want to call evidence, and throw it in public view out into the bed of a truck and drive it away. This right here is unnecessary. Nobody should have
Yeah.
ever seen anything like this. When you remove evidence from a crime scene like this, of a quadruple homicide, you do it because if you remember, think back at the very beginning when they said they were coming in to do the cleaning of the crime scene. They had the
Yeah.
big truck backed all the way up with the tarps over the top of it. You
Yeah.
couldn't see anything from the front of the house into that truck. So they protected everything, but then they said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that route." So this is what you do. You bring it out for all to see, but this is ridiculous. This was unnecessary. You don't do this. You don't do this in any reason or scenario. And I just want to say, I think it's inexperience, and it just shows if we want to project, how do you think they treated this crime scene if they're willing to project it like this after the fact? This is
Yeah.
sickening. It's sickening. If
Here,
this
here,
was my daughter,
here
if
they
this
are.
was my daughter, and think about this too, 12 gauge. If this is your child, okay, and I know people scrutinize the families altogether for the way that they talk, the way they behave. And I'm one that's made a few statements myself. But at the end of the day, you got to stop real quick and you got to say, this is my child. This is the crime scene that my child's life was taken within. And this is how you're showcasing it. This is wrong. This is wrong. This very picture you're showing is two men carrying a mattress out of a crime scene that someone's life was possibly taken on.
Yeah.
And you're showcasing it in front of everybody. This isn't right. It's not right. And I've had many questions in regards to this case. And I think many people have watched my videos. And I bring up a lot of theories, and I talk about a lot of outside the box ideas and thoughts. But the number one thing that we always have to reel it back into is common sense and reality of emotional feeling. And if this was your loved ones, you're literally watching their possessions being walked out of this crime scene with a very I don't care feeling to it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Of
So at the
course.
end of the day, if you get that feeling of how they're all handling this situation on law enforcement and investigative side, that just opens the door to many nil and negative opinions from both the side to feel as though he's guilty or not guilty. It just opens that door for questions and discussions. And at the end of the day, even someone like myself that's been through this process, and it's sad because I've seen lives taken, and I've been around some very sickening type situations, and they eat at you forever and ever and ever. I'm sure you agree. 12 gauge, you've been through some things in your life as well that you're never going to let go of. They're going to be a part of you
Oh,
for the rest of your life. And many people within this community, very same thing. And I think that's the reason why this case really hits home is each of us find a piece of our lives, our past being showcased somehow within this case
yeah.
in a certain manner. And I really go at the justice system and law enforcement because this needs to be cleaned up. This very scenario across the board, if you're going to investigate a crime like this, you better damn well care. You better show you care, and you better do your job to the best of your ability and the best of the training you have. And I'm sad to say I don't think the Moscow Police Department and those that worked this very case had the necessary treatment and training to be able to do that.
I mean, it just makes you wonder. Like, you have, photos are photos. It could be a million things. She could have dropped. She could have dropped her contact lens or something. They could both be looking for something, but it makes you wonder, what are they looking at here? What is so? You see leaves, you don't really see a lot, but what could they be looking at?
Well, they got to be looking. I mean, this is going to be the areas where you're going to get footprints coming out of the home. You're going to
Yeah,
be able to find if you really can figure out whose feet are making what prints. You can determine an exit strategy from the home, especially if you can correlate within this certain shoe patterns that go with blood droppings or something of that nature. But every bit of investigation that I put into this case, and I've done a lot of deep diving, they didn't find, blood outside of the home.
yeah,
They didn't find trails that were able to be followed by the dogs that they had, because if you really watch the early newscast, they were back up against the fence. They were looking for any type of trace with those dogs that they could find. It didn't seem like they got one, which concerns me because now legitimately we're not able to prove even an exit from the home. I know many tend to believe he exited directly out of that back slider. It's got to be the easiest way. But then other people say the front door was left wide open.
yeah.
And I know many have said the front door was left wide open to change the temperature of the home and the process of the bodies. And but what if somebody just walked right out that front door? We don't know. We don't know because there's been no specification of what they found within that investigation. In the PCA, I was looking to see if they could correlate something that fit to what they said about the car being peeling out on the video, making the noise, leaving the scene.
Right.
Okay, well, give me some sense. If you're telling me the driving pattern of the car, why can't you tell me where the hell that car was parked and how they got out and left? That's all yeah. And hopefully the story um legitimately could be told a little bit better as we get to trial. But right now I think many of us that are watching this, especially those of us that have been through this very court system and been investigated and been through this, if I'm sitting here shaking my head saying I don't understand something within what they're doing, and I've been around the block numerous times within these types of investigations, and I'm still shaking my head going, something's missing here, then people should probably legitimately in their minds say, Well, if somebody that's a pure convict, that's, I mean, everybody still throws that at me, how I'm such a convict, that's been around these types of things so much, don't you think maybe you ought to hear me when I say something's not adding up here? Something's wrong.
Right.
Something is not right. Something's just not right.
I don't know if you
And
ever saw this, AR, but this wall right here, I wanted to touch on this wall because in one of the crime scene photos, I can't remember, and I've been looking for it like crazy, but there's a cutout right here in this wall, and there's red tape around it. So that's it. They cut out some evidence right there, whether it be a handprint, whether it be blood on the wall or something of that nature. And I've been looking for that photo forever. Like I've been looking at it like a madman. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So this is Kaylee's room right here, is it not? Because here's the staircase. Maddie's room to the left. Kaylee's is right here, and here's the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom. So yeah, obviously,
So
Kaylee's room is the one with the slider to the back porch.
this is complete speculation, okay? Now I'm allowed to do that a couple times a show. What if the killer? What if the killer came into the bathroom to wash off and graze this with whatever, whether it be his clothing, whether it be a trash bag he was carrying everything in, and left a mark. Tried to wipe it off, was unsuccessful. Went into the bathroom, washed off his hands, washed off the knife, washed off whatever, cleaned everything up, put it in the trash bag. You know, as you're carrying the trash bag with you, so you're not dropping any of the stuff that you're cleaning off, wipes, paper towels, anything like that. You get what I'm saying, AR?
I
Do you
do.
think that
I
could
do.
have you think that could have been feasible?
I do. I mean, I'm sorry. In a crime like this, he hit the walls. Whoever did this hit the walls in many different places, including the downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
living room. Just real quick, I just want to take a real quick moment and again, Leon 1010. First of all, I don't believe the PCA is lying. I've never made a statement that I feel the PCA is lying. I
Mm-hmm.
feel as though the PCA, and I've made this statement and I've talked many of times with other creators on panel, within my bit, I think the PCA is poorly written, and I don't feel as though it specifies things in a manner that's fully understandable due to the fact it most likely was the individual's very first PCA of a murder case he ever wrote. I believe he was utilizing the FBI agent's wording to best try to say what he was trying to say, and it just came off in a poor manner. I don't think it was well written. When it comes to
Right.
the sheath, I am not a person that has ever made the statement I felt as though it was planted. I've never made a statement that I felt as though law enforcement could possibly have planted that. Now, it's a movable object. What I have stated is I'm unsure of how the DNA became a part of that sheath. I don't know how the DNA got on the sheath. I can't specify that. If it's truly Brian Koberger's sheath and it's his DNA, I think we'll learn a lot about that in trial. At this point, I've never, ever stated I feel as though this is a planted situation. Could it be? Some people feel that way. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't gone that direction only because of my past. I haven't seen a lot of fully planted stuff like that, but I have seen stuff where DNA was on something and it turned out to be somebody, else's object that somebody else's DNA was on. That's why it's typically This type of DNA is inadmissible when you get to a trial hearing. I understand if they have all of this on body cam footage, which I believe they will, because they clearly state in the PCA when they found the dog, it was on body cam footage. That makes me feel as though when they enter the other rooms, it's most likely on body cam footage. And that's great.
So
That's
this
great.
would
I
be
hope
this
it
would be
is.
the room. This would be the room, right, where the dog was found. And earlier I
Correct.
asked you about the lock on the door. Would they have had to break that door down in order to get that dog out, or would somebody have known that key lock? The parents, the sister. I mean, I'm just asking.
That's gonna be a great question. I hope that we do learn is if these rooms really did have these key locks where all the doors shut. I mean, I would obviously feel as though Kaylee's door probably was shut if the dog was locked in the room. I think that's pretty much saying the door was shut. So
Yeah.
now I want to know, how did they enter that room? Did they have to bust the door down? Were they able to get that code? I mean, we'll find out whether did Dylan know the upstairs codes or
Yeah.
Bethany to get into the rooms. That's gonna be all interesting stuff to find out. And at the end of the day, I mean, to just kind of summarize what I was saying, bits and pieces of this will all be shored up, within the statements and everything that's been projected as we get more details moving forward on, okay, who was first to the crime scene? How was the crime scene handled once there? I mean, all of this is going to be displayed at trial. They have to explain all of that. Otherwise, we're going to really have problems because that would be contaminated, crime scene and everything of that nature. They're
Right.
going to have to show these steps. And I'm looking forward to that because I think that will tell a much bigger story than what we know now. But with what we know now, that's why there's questions. That's why there are questions right now, is because of the poorly written PCA and the very little bit of information that's been shared with us. It doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense. And maybe they'll fill that gap. We'll find out. We'll find
And
out.
this is Kaylee's room right here, okay? So I was wondering if they went through this room at all, or if they just noted, hey, there's no blood stain. The dog just here. He's not bloody. He doesn't have anything on him. Let's not really look for any kind of fingerprints or anything like that. I'm pretty sure they went through the room, but I'm just saying, I know they took the tower out of the room because they showed that picture of her computer monitor with said no network detected. So I know they did take the tower. But how thoroughly did they go through this room? It makes you wonder.
Well, I mean, by Christy Gonzalez's account, they didn't even go through the garbage can. When they got
Yeah.
the garbage can out of that room back, it hadn't even been touched. So I mean, that concerns me. Does it tell me that it's a horrifically bad investigation? No, because if nothing happened in that room, then they're obviously going to focus on where the crime transpired and where the evidence would be found. I think some details out of that room that would be key is, can you tell me how long the dog possibly was in that room? Did it go to the bathroom in the room? Was there
Right.
some sort of sign that that dog had been left unattended for a long period of time? I believe that's all that room will tell us outside of, did Kaylee start by sleeping in that room and later leave? Which is my guess. I believe she started to sleep in her room, heard something, left the room, locking the door behind her with the dog in it, and that's how she would end up in Maddie's room with the dog still in her room. Otherwise, none of that makes sense. I don't think Kaylee went to sleep in Maddie's room with her dog in her room locked up. I
No,
just don't see that.
I don't
But
either.
I mean, people might call me crazy. I think you just bring your dog, which is, it sounds like it was a very loved family kind of household dog. Knew Jack, knew, the household members. I would think that dog would be in Maddie's room with them. And I don't see someone that only has a handful of minutes to commit a quadruple homicide taking the time to mess around with the dog and try to escort it into a room and lock it. It doesn't make sense.
Of course not. Of
You
course
know,
not. And I mean, it doesn't matter that dog going to be running toward that room, and if you leave the door open, it's going to be running, jumping on the bed, getting blood all over itself. Trying to lick at its owner, and all that stuff, right? Wouldn't that be um,
well, I mean,
common
even at the end of the
knowledge?
day, yeah, 12 gauge, if you think about it, if a man is willing to come into the house and take 4 lives without thinking about it or flinching or getting emotional about
Yeah,
it, he has no problem punt kicking that dog across the room to get it out of, you know what I mean? If the
yeah,
dog was in the room with them, he's just going to knock the shit out of that dog, maybe even take its life, and never think twice about it because he's already taken 4 people's lives. What's he
of
care about
course,
dog?
of course. Very good point.
So
This picture that I have up, I was thinking too, because I look at these pictures, and I just, my mind just goes and goes and goes. I was thinking about this picture, and I was wondering, how come the police didn't block off the street at the end of the block rather than letting all these cars come into the crime scene? Because this is technically part of the crime scene, even though it's not taped off. This is where he supposedly peeled out, and this and that and the other. The DoorDash driver, the rideshare driver, all that stuff. How come they didn't corner off at the end of the street and preserve as much evidence as they could have? Because what they did in essential is all those vehicles that drove over this, not knowing that this was part of the crime scene, they contaminated it.
they did. And it's inexperience. I mean, everybody needs to take a deep breath and realize this police force has never dealt with something of this nature. And what did they say? I believe they said that the a murder that happened previous to this had been like 7 to 10 years prior to this. So they never have crimes like this. Never. They don't
And
know
the,
what they're doing.
and the
They
coroner
don't know
said
what
that
they're doing.
the coroner stated that they usually solve those crimes very quickly.
Yeah, I would think so. And when they say they solve these crimes very quickly, in the amount of time it took to arrest Brian Koberger, I feel as though that was very quick. And people may disagree. Oh, it took you a month to get to him. That's pretty quick compared to a lot of other big, big cases.
So, what does that statement tell you as far as somebody's concerned? She's in the legal aspect also. We generally solve these crimes rather quickly. Does that mean that they get
Well,
tunnel vision?
yeah, I mean, it's easier to solve these types of crimes quickly when it's somebody, if you think it's a boyfriend or somebody very close to the victims, or you have people that happen to be awake when it happened, and it seems as though with the projection that they're making when they go Brian Koberger's direction in this crime is he would be very unknown to those around this crime scene. That makes it more difficult to solve. When you do that, when you take the idea of people being known to the crime scene away from that perception, it's going to take longer because you got to sift through who could it be, so you always start close to the people and work your way outwards. But I even think I have a real problem with the fact they started clearing people of this crime, it seems like a day or two after the fact.
Yes.
What investigation did you actually do? Like, what did you do investigative wise to be able to clear these people? Uh, did you do DNA testing? Did you do phone testing? What did you guys do? Because it seems like to be able to clear somebody that quickly, it's like you didn't do anything other than take their word for it when they told you they weren't there. And to me, that's just not right. That's just not right.
Yeah, how could you have cleared them that quick, you know? See, here's another photo, and I've seen these tire marks right here, and I've looked at some other pictures that these tire marks weren't there. Jeff and I watched the video when Xana was dancing in the, promoting I guess the real estate thing or whatever. And we watched that, and those marks were not there in the road during that time. So we uh, we summarized that these were the marks that they were investigating. So it's interesting that these marks, you know, what could these marks tell you as far as, size of the tire, the depth of the tire impression? It's obviously on the asphalt. Is there any pieces of that tire that's savable, that's not contaminated? You know, it just looks like they're not very professional when they're investigating, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But look at that
And I
picture.
hate to
Look at
say
that
it. I
picture.
I
Look at that
I
picture. I mean,
actually, I'm not sure, the way they went about it, but I do feel as though in their investigation, they were probably able to get some tire tracks and get some information off of that. With the high technology that happens today, you know, uh, I know maybe we feel as though that was contaminated and maybe people drove through it, but it only takes a little bit of section of that tread, that they're going to pool and be able to utilize. And, you know, again, Leon is saying, what do I mean? It's anybody, any scenario that's not Brian. I haven't said that. And a lot of people say that I stand up and fully advocate that Brian's innocent. No, what I fully stand up and state is prove it. I just want to see everything laid out before us. And my only issue so far that I've seen is I don't believe the investigation was conducted appropriately. I don't feel as though the people conducting the investigation were as experienced that was necessary. And they say, well, they brought in the FBI, they brought in the, Idaho State Police Department and this and that. That's great. Okay, that's great. Sadly to say, the FBI has not turned over their evidence. So it's good that they were there. They probably were researching this and investigating as if this was going to be a federal case. And just remember, at the end of the day, if the feds don't want to turn stuff over, they don't have to. If the feds don't want to go to court and testify, they don't have to. So everybody that says this is a federally investigated case and that's why we should trust it, where are they now? Where are they right now when this whole thing is blowing up in the courtroom to where the defense attorneys are attacking the prosecution, claiming prosecutorial misconduct and lack of evidence? The feds could have stepped in right now and said, guys, trust me, we got this guy dead to rights. We got everything we need against this guy. Here it all is, perfectly organized, perfectly demonstrated. We went through this entire investigation. There's no issues here. We got him. We got him. We don't see them. They're not there. We see Brett Payne, sorry, and Mowry on the stand sounding pretty baffled by things they should know every detail of, and they don't. So I'm not trying to say, hey, this guy's perfectly innocent, and all I'm saying is I don't see common sense within this investigation so far. I just don't
well,
see it. And that's
AR,
coming from,
as you said, you know, you've been in the system, you've been through trials and things of that nature, which a lot of people haven't, and if they have, they understand the concept that not every investigation is is foolproof. It's there's some stuff in all investigations, like I stated many times. Even in my studies, it's written in black and white. Police lie when it comes to gathering evidence. It's part of the tactic. It's part of the
Mhm.
tactic. And those
Well,
people
and
that
I try to.
go ahead.
You're right. No, I try to tell people exactly what you're saying. Do you know the police are the only ones, law enforcement are the only ones allowed to lie during an investigation? If an actual person that's being investigated lies, you're deemed almost automatically guilty.
Hi, my name is
Where
Danica Noodle. I'm a marketing major here at the University of Idaho.
Hold on a second. Sorry.
you're all
Jeff.
right, I was just thinking, who's chatting with me now?
No, Jeff sent me the video. I'm gonna play it for you guys, so you can see behind her if you can see those tire marks or you can't. So hold on a second. I always get this. Let's get this mixed up. Go ahead and continue your
You
thought.
know, I'm just saying, like, no matter what part of the investigation you're in, law enforcement does not have to be honest about things. Many of times, and people ask me, well, you know, how do you know the system so well? So I was arrested for the first time in 1988 as an 11-year-old kid, and it didn't stop for almost 30 years after that fact. I've been through probably I think it's 15 trials. I mean, I've been through this process. I've been through it, and I've been in the interrogation rooms.
Hi,
I've
my
been
name
around.
is Danica
So
Noodle. I'm a
it's not that
marketing
I'm
major
not
here at the University of
saying
Idaho. And I'm involved in a couple things down here, including Vandal Solutions. Last year I did Blues Properties. I was an associate with.
Okay, continue your thought. I'm trying to figure out how to stop this, how to play it, all that stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You said you've
it's
been in
just
the system for a long time.
yeah, and they're allowed to utilize tactics, that most of us are not allowed to do. If you or I or anybody within this chat was to use some of the tactics they use back towards them, they're going to say that we're liars, we're cheats, we're this, we're going to fail lie detector tests. Well, guess what? They can't pass them either. They can't pass the lie detector tests in their investigations either. And I'm not saying they're dirty or corrupt. What I'm saying is they have tactics that they utilize to put pressure on people within investigations. Why was none of that utilized throughout this investigation until we get directly to Brian Colbert?
Yes.
When we don't see him in an interrogation room. Tell me, most of the big cases, especially homicide cases, tell me what you didn't watch the interrogation video in the interrogation room between the cops and the actual homicide person that were like Jodi Arias, and the people were laughing about the way they acted in that interrogation room. But instead of that, in this case, we're getting documentaries on 48-hour mysteries and Dateline and books being written as if this trial has already happened.
Yeah.
We're not getting the real life showing of what happened in this investigation. We're getting a narrative created through mainstream media that's guiding people into an end result. I don't agree with that. I don't
Well, let's
agree with
watch
it.
this. Let's watch this right quick, AR. And I want you guys in the chat to pay attention to her left shoulder because that's where these tire marks would be. And then we're trying to understand if these tire marks are new or these are old. So here we go.
Them, and I basically just worked with Blues Properties and did advertising for them, did sales events, etc. And this year I'm doing sales, so I'm a sales associate. So basically I just call people around Moscow, ask them if they're interested in our business, etc. But yeah, I'm a junior here, so it's really exciting. I love it at the University of Idaho, and I'm super excited to be in this marketing class because it's basically my major. And this is actually King Street, where I've lived the past 2 years, and I really like just hanging out with my friends all the time and being super involved in school events and everything else. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and I'm really excited to take on this course. Hi.
Okay, did y'all notice the music playing?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all notice that kind of that vibe that was, that college life vibe in the background? The music playing, it's kind of like chill, and there's not a lot going on. There's vehicles driving by, this and that and the other. It just seemed very chill.
Mm-hmm.
For individuals to be talking about this crime as if it's a horror movie, these were normal kids. These were these were all American kids. They lived in a house, they partied, they drank beer, they did whatever. They listened to music loud. How many of us can honestly say we've never partied and listened to music loud and passed out and did what we've seen these people do? The only difference is we weren't murdered in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that people have lost all common sense when they paint this to be like a horror movie from Banfield all the way up to Linda Lane. If you use your common sense, you know that it wasn't a horror movie being filmed step by step the whole night, starting at 2:57 a.m. You know it LE probably was rushed to get a suspect. I don't stand behind that, but I stand behind what AR says as far as them being brand new in the process and maybe rushing this a little more than they should have, maybe not being as thorough, or maybe they are. Maybe we're going to find out in the trial that it isn't anything other than they came home, just like we were told in the PCA. They came home, DoorDash was delivered, whoever came into the house, murdered the four kids, left either out the back slider or out the front door, and that was the end of it. All the other evidence that they used to get this individual, if he's the one, they found a way to place him to add the pieces together to show the probable cause that of everybody in that area during that time frame, he is the most viable option. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
asking
I
me or AR, but here's a question for us. What do you think of the 4chan texts?
they're interesting. They have information in them that like a lot of people are stating. Brian Koberger said this on online forums, and there's somebody with knowledge of what's going on making those posts, and it's just there's a lot of weirdness that goes into that, and I wish I knew better. I'm not really a 4chan person, so a lot of people saw those immediately when they came out. I didn't. I didn't see them until people started talking about them, and I think they're interesting. I think there's some information within those that I think investigators can either use, or it was investigators releasing information, one of the two, because they do that. They go into forums, they release information hoping to get bites of people discussing those. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's such a crazy, crazy thing. Social
Man,
media sucks
wasn't she
sometimes.
adorable? Let's just watch this one more time. I mean, I've seen this once or twice, but look at her mannerisms. Isn't wasn't she adorable?
My name is Xana Kernodle. I'm a marketing major here at the University of Idaho. And I'm involved in a couple things down here, including Vandal Solutions. Last year I did Police Properties. I was an associate with them. And I basically just worked with Police Properties and did advertising for them, did sales events, etc. And this year I'm doing sales, so I'm a sales associate. So basically I just call people around Moscow, ask them if they're interested in our business, etc. But yeah, I'm a junior here, so it's really exciting. I love it at the University of Idaho, and I'm super excited to be in this marketing class because it's basically my major. And this is actually King Street, where I've lived the past 2 years, and I really like just hanging out with my friends all the time and being super involved in school events and everything else. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and I'm really excited to take on this course.
Yeah, very, very sad.
It is, and the thing is, I've got to know her mother, um, a little bit more than some others have, obviously, and she has good resemblance of the good side of her mom. She really
Yeah.
does. Her mom has a personality very similar, even though, I mean, as you know,
Yeah, I've
addiction
talked to Kara
can,
a couple times myself,
yeah.
on Facebook before she
Uh,
got locked up this last time.
she has a good personality to her,
Yeah.
and she's also a very caring person. And as you know, addiction can really make a very negative situation out of the most positive of situations. But Xana has some of the very resemblance of her mother, and it's this is devastating type of things to watch. You
Yeah.
get to see the realness and the inside feel of how special these individuals were. And that's why I have such an issue with a lot of things that come out trying to create a narrative that just, they're so wild, they're so off base, they're sickening to even try to listen to or hear. And we're talking about real life individuals here, and this could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be your daughter, it could be
Hmm.
you know, uh, a very dear person to you in your life. Like many know, I'm standing by my friend Pete Alteri with Burger Metal Mayhem and his wife that are going through really tough time right now. And these are the type of things that are real and they're everyday life. And now we're seeing a beautiful young lady right here that's at college that's supposed to be loving every minute of the day she's living and having a good time and enjoying every minute of it. And it's just a really it's a gut wrenching feel when you see these things.
Yes, yes, indeed. And that's what I try to do this for. I don't try to do this to convict or to even place a lot of emphasis on Brian. I know I do in some other videos, but not so much. I'm doing this just so people can understand the real victims in this case. Brian's not a victim; he's still alive, and I want people to remember that he's not a victim. Whether you believe he's guilty or whether you believe he's not, he's still alive. You forget the fact that this individual right here in this video and her three other friends are no longer living. They're no longer able to walk free, to listen to that music in the background, to breathe the air, and to even speculate that they were drug addicts. Look at her. I've sat across
Mm.
drug addicts in their addiction, when they're getting clean, during the process, after they've gotten clean. That is horrific to even speculate that. She did not look like a drug addict. Not one bit. Neither did Ethan. Neither did Kaylee. Neither did Maddie. So try to use
At the
some
end of the day,
common sense.
even at the end of the day, if they were, I can't judge them upon it. I can't hold that as the reason to why they would deserve something like this anyway. So,
Yeah.
outside of the spectrum of whatever their life choices may be, whether we agree with them or don't, that was their life choices. And I don't think that I could dissect someone's life choices when I have to look at my very own and try to
Very true.
live day by what I do within my life or what my past entails. And that's kind of what I've learned. Instead of judging, I've learned to support and help. And, I just, I like you know, whether this crime had anything to do with certain things like narcotics, I'm not going to look at each individual and dissect whether they were using or not using. And, just to quickly answer a question, and I got to get running here in a couple minutes, 12 gauge. I've actually got a date with my wife tonight that I got to
Awesome,
keep
awesome, Mark.
and make sure that yeah, so I definitely got to be on time and do that correctly. But you know, uh, Alex asked, so Dylan opened the door 3 times, and I say that means she knew. As I asked, what if they were already dead or dying when she opened that very door? And that is a good question. The thing that I have to ask back to that is, what was she hearing that caused her to open the door? Some may have been deceased, some may not have been. We don't know the legitimacy of the timeline or what transpired within that home. And I wasn't there, and I'm not a part of the investigation. I can only go by what's been said and my gut feeling based upon that. The only things that I ever share is opinion, gut feeling, and speculation. I'm not a part of the investigation. I don't have inside information like some claim to have, that are people are telling me details and this. I don't have that. Um, so when I make my presentations or I speak upon things, it's based upon gut feelings, past experiences, emotional ties to things that I think we all get through our experiences. And I only share thoughts and opinions. I give people the idea that they could critically use their own thoughts to get to a point to where they feel as though they better understand what they are seeing happen before us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to discredit anybody else's thoughts. I don't want to discredit anybody else's feelings. I hold myself accountable to being respectful and acting with integrity to anybody's thoughts or opinions in regards to what happened in this case. I don't disrespect the victims in any way. I also don't disrespect Brian Koberger because I don't know whether he's guilty or innocent. And I don't ever disrespect his family or the families within this case. I may throw questions or opinions on things that they have said, but I never mean it in a disrespectful manner. I've spoken with these individuals behind the scenes. I'll never, ever state what the conversation was about or where it led or anything of that nature, because that's between them and I, and that's their business, and I'm not going to share it. But I would never disrespect things to the point, that a lot of people feel as though I have inside knowledge or I know more than what I don't. I don't. And I'll never claim to. I will never claim to. I don't know if they found evidence in that home. I don't know if they found tire tracks that match Brian Koberger's car. I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't state that I know any of these things.
Right.
So, I keep everything open minded, and I speak how I feel only, and opinions. And I hope as we get to the process of trial, we learn far more. when someone says PCA tells lots of information, Brian was jogging past and witnessed a real murder. It's insane. He's a straight. That again is a gut feeling or opinion. The PCA didn't state anything of that nature. None of that. So, with that 12 gauge, I'm going to give you ultimate respect, my friend. You're doing a great job. I love your channel. I love you as a content creator. I'm a big supporter of you. I'm a big fan.
Well, thank
I'm
you. Thank you.
excited to I'm excited to watch you continue to grow and make a difference. You got a great mind on you. You've got a very impactful, difference making background and knowledge that you could bring to the table. And I think you do it with integrity and respect. And that's why I support you. And I can't wait to watch you continue moving forward, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. You and Jen have a wonderful night out. Y'all be safe, and whatever you do, just enjoy the moments, man. Make memories. Make memories.
And that's what it's all about. So I truly appreciate you allowing me to come up and having me up on your show. It was a pleasure being with you, and we'll do it again very soon, my friend.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Y'all have a wonderful
All right.
night. AR.
Yeah.
Great conversation with AR right there. It's very, very insightful with a lot of different panel creators, because it's always interesting to hear their understanding, their ability to see things that maybe others haven't seen, or even myself, things that, maybe I've overlooked or maybe have seen in a different way. I always like to listen to people, get their impression. That way it could give me another outlook on things, because as we've all stated, and if anybody claims that they know exactly what happened, more power to them, because most people that are on these platforms don't have a clue. They're speculating just like everybody else, and if they have it all figured out, maybe they have some inside information that other people aren't prevalent to. Some people have talked to the families. Some people have, been shown things that other people have not been shown. They've been shown videos. They've been shown all kinds of things, and that would give them an insight that other people just do not have. So it's always interesting to get different people's perspectives. And I'm gonna end this with a moment of silence. If I can get this to come up. Good grief. Y'all hang in there with me. Hold on a second. There's all these freaking pop-ups. Let me share this picture. Let's take a moment of silence for Kaylee, as today would have been her 23rd birthday, I believe. Is that true, guys? Would have been her 23rd birthday? Because she was 21 when she passed, right? So let's take a moment of silence for Kaylee. It's so sad that she endured what she had to endure in such a short life. It's very tragic, and for people to talk about her the way that they've talked about her, the way that they feel that they've known her, and this and that and the other, that don't really know her, it just sickening. This is the way that I'd like to remember a family member or someone who was special to me, with them smiling, with them having light in their eyes, not with the junk that people have stated about this person. She was a very beautiful young lady, you know, and thought to her family as well. I hope that on this day, even though as hard as it is, you still remember the beauty coming from her soul, because in any picture that you see a part of her that just jumps out at you in the picture, in the videos, so just take a moment of silence. Those four individuals were the true reason for this whole process. They're the ones that deserve all the care and all the love. Their families as well. And even if you have a forgiving heart, if the one that's locked up for it, he as well, you know, whether you believe it or not, he deserves a little bit of forgiveness as well. Because at the end of the day, we're all fallible in this world, and none of us are perfect. And without tarnishing this young lady's image on this night on her birthday, just try to remember to hold those closest to you just a little closer. Don't go to bed with those angry hearts and angry minds. Reach out to people that you haven't talked to in a while to try to repair those bridges before it's too late. Don't harbor any ill feelings toward people, or even on these YouTube channels or anything like that, because at the end of everything, will this matter in 5 years? Will it matter in a year from now, 2 years from now? Happy birthday, Kaylee Jade. Those of you that have been in the chat the whole time, thank you very much for riding with me these 2.5 hours. Thank you for your respectful chats, your respectful comments. And I hope that you recommend the channel a little more to people. Not because I want to gain subs, but because I believe that I'm trying to make a difference just like everybody else. And I think I bring a different perspective sometimes. So, if you believe that, recommend the channel. Hit the like button on your way out. Um, Man, I'm about to tear up. Tough. It's tough covering this without, seeing that face, you know. Um, just terrible. But you guys have a wonderful night. And I usually end my lives with this saying. If you've never been here before, I usually say, Maestro, cue the music. I will be here back at noon tomorrow with a different type of platform than this altogether. So if you're in the neighborhood, why don't you stop back in and check it out? See if you enjoy it. You guys, take care of each other. Be vigilant out there. Maestro, cue that music.